They say cruelty is a learned thing. Jake didn't invent those words. You're just her bonus package. He parroted them like a podcast quote. Sunday morning. Pancakes on his plate, maple syrup I bought with the last of the week's grocery budget. The dog was barking outside, wind chimes clinking gently in the November breeze. And he said it as casually as if he were talking about the weather. Mom doesn't really need you. She just likes the perks. He was 17. He knew what he was doing. And I was supposed to pretend I didn't hear it. Leslie said nothing, kept sipping her tea like he hadn't just gutted me in the middle of our kitchen. Her daughter, Ash, looked up briefly, almost smirked, then dropped her eyes to her phone again. No one defended me. No one corrected him. The air just thickened, humid with implication. Like I was expected to take the hit and keep cooking. I didn't answer, didn't shout. I stood up slowly, walked to the fridge, tore off a scrap of paper from the notepad we used for shopping lists, grabbed the black Sharpie from the drawer. All benefits expired. I taped it dead center on the fridge door, just beneath the water filter. Then I went upstairs and sat in the room I still called my office, though no one respected the door. By Monday, everything was gone. Wi-Fi? Cut. Phones? Deactivated, even mine briefly just to make a point. Leslie's gym membership? Cancelled. Ash's meal kits? Gone. Jake's Spotify, his backup gaming account, his little monthly auto-renewals for games and tokens and cloud storage, all dead. The vacation savings I had been quietly building? Locked. Moved to a private account. No threats. No speeches. Just silence. I became a ghost who closed the wallet. And suddenly I mattered. But not the way I wanted. My name is Justin. I'm 44. I work logistics in a metal distribution company outside Austin. 20 years in the industry. Steel doesn't talk back. Pallets don't ask if you're their real dad. They just show up, get loaded, get gone. Simple, efficient, predictable. Not like this house. This 4-bedroom colonial wasn't mine when I bought it. Not really. It was a gift I gave someone else's family, hoping they'd unwrap it slowly and find room for me inside. Leslie moved in with 2 teenagers and the sort of bruised grace women carry after years of being blamed for their husband's failures. She was soft-spoken, sharp when cornered. She carried the past like a folded letter in her back pocket. Never read aloud, but always there. Jake and Ash came with her. No warning. No adjustment period. Just 2 teenagers dropped into my life like stray dogs with tags that read not yours. Jake was 13 then. Still short, still awkward. I taught him how to tie a tie before his first school dance. I remember that. Ash was 11. Cold from day one. Like someone had warned her I'd try to replace her dad. I never did. I just paid for everything he didn't. First it was little things, school lunches, field trip slips, asthma inhalers. Then phones. Tutors. Counselors. When their dad forgot to send money, and he always forgot, I covered the gaps. Not out of obligation, but because someone had to. Because Leslie looked tired and grateful and like maybe, this time her life was going to get better. For a while, I let myself believe that was enough. They didn't hate me. They didn't love me either. They tolerated me like you tolerate a broken porch light. Annoying, inconvenient, but easier than fixing the wiring. I was background noise, a hum beneath their lives. My job was to keep everything running while being invisible. I paid for everything. Not just bills, everything. Jake's driving lessons. Ash's dance costumes. Leslie's medical insurance when she lost her part-time job. They'd ask for money like ordering from a menu. No thank yous. No updates. Just expectations. Jake once spent $400 on in-game currency and shrugged when I confronted him. I thought it was just free money, he said. Ash once called me Justin in front of her friends, and when I corrected her gently, she said, "You're not my dad. Don't make it weird." But I stayed. I stayed because I believed that consistency earned trust. That if I showed up enough times, love would grow where resentment used to live. That if I paid and fixed and endured, one day they'd see. That Sunday morning proved me wrong. Mom doesn't need you. She just likes the perks. That's what he said. Not thank you. Not, I'm sorry I've been a jerk. Not I see how much you do for us. Just bonus package. Like I was some add-on Leslie picked up when she lost her main guy. Like I was the office coffee machine, useful but replaceable. And Leslie said nothing. She stirred her tea with the tiny silver spoon I bought her for our anniversary and stared out the window like it was raining. Even though it wasn't. She could have stopped him. She could have said, "Don't talk to him like that. He's done more for you than your own father ever has." She could have said, "That man pays your bills. Show some damn respect." She could have looked at me, but she didn't. Monday morning, I woke up at 4:45, same as always, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table with my laptop, opened my spreadsheets. It wasn't revenge. It was accounting. Column A, housing, mortgage, taxes, utilities. Column B, food, groceries, takeout, school lunches. Column C, medical, copays, prescriptions, urgent care visits. Column D, education, tuition savings, test prep, field trips. No more fashion subscriptions. No more entertainment bundles. No more emergency Venmo transfers at midnight. I made a new rule. Essential expenses only, and only with receipts. If they wanted money, they had to ask and show work. No more assumed benevolence. No more quiet subsidies. I created a private folder in my email and labeled it Family Reckoning. That's where I stored every receipt, every message, every transaction going forward. Because something in me had changed. I wasn't angry. I was done. Done pretending that tolerance equals love. Done pretending that paying equals belonging. Done with the noise. That first week was blissfully awkward. Jake asked what happened to the Wi-Fi. I told him I was restructuring finances. Ash asked why her Uber account was locked. I told her to talk to her real father. Leslie asked if I was mad. I said I wasn't. I said I was just learning to listen. And I was listening hard. Not to what they said, but to what they didn't. No apologies. No ownership. Just confusion. Like the vending machine suddenly stopped working and no one knew who to complain to. I went to work. Came home. Ate dinner alone in the den. Watched the thermostat to make sure they weren't cranking it just to spite me. Slept like a man who'd finally turned off the background noise he'd mistaken for music. And that silence? It was the most honest sound I'd heard in years. There were no raised voices. No slamming doors. Just the quiet shuffle of disappointment. The sound a house makes when it realizes the power's been shut off. But no one wants to admit who forgot to pay the bill. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I did what I've always done. I made a spreadsheet. The new doc had 4 columns. Housing, food, medical, school. No extras. No self-care money for Ash's skincare hauls. No gas cards for Jake to run off and ignore curfew. No mystery Venmo transfers labeled urgent that turned out to be concert tickets or vape refills. No more lies repackaged as need. I stared at the screen. Behind me, the house was alive in all the wrong ways. The passive-aggressive silences, the footsteps avoiding mine, the subtle shifting of emotional furniture. But here, in front of this monitor, things made sense. Numbers, dates, receipts. If it couldn't be tracked, it didn't exist. I opened my bank app, froze every secondary card. Mine stayed active. The rest? Ice cold. I went through the vacation fund, moved it to a new bank. One with better security. One they didn't know about. Changed all the autopays. Canceled everything that didn't keep a roof over their heads or a pulse in their bodies. Took an hour. When I finished, I opened my email and typed, subject, revised household contribution guidelines. Effective immediately, I will only be covering the following categories: mortgage, utilities, groceries, medical copays, school-related essentials, books, supplies, required activities. All other requests will require advanced discussion, proper documentation, and mutual respect. If mutual respect cannot be guaranteed, funding will not be reinstated. This is non-negotiable. Justin. Leslie read it before lunch. Her reply came 4 minutes later. What is this supposed to be? Some kind of punishment? For what exactly? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The punishment wasn't the lack of perks. It was the arrival of boundaries. By Wednesday, Jake tested the waters. "Hey, can I get gas money?" he asked at the top of the stairs. Tone neutral but tight. "Can you show me a log of your miles?" I replied from my desk. "What's the purpose of the drive?" Silence. He backed down. Literally. I heard him retreat, each step a concession. Later that day, Leslie cornered me in the hallway. "This isn't you," she said. I looked her dead in the eye. "This is exactly me. The version that no longer rewards disrespect." She tried to soften. Hand on my arm. That breathy little sigh she used when she wanted to manipulate without sounding like she was begging. "They're kids," she said. "No," I said. "They're old enough to know how to spend money. Old enough to insult the man who provides it. They're not kids. They're dependents with attitudes." I thought that would be the worst of it. Then Jake made a mistake. It started with a voice message. A forwarded clip. From someone on his soccer team, a kid I'd given rides to. A kid I once stayed up late with, icing his sprained ankle when his own father couldn't be bothered to show. The message was meant for someone else. But it landed in my inbox. Jake was venting. Not to me. To Ron. That name. That new name. Ron, the man Leslie had reconnected with last year. A friend from high school. Divorced. Charmed her at her reunion. Took the kids out just to talk. Showed up to Jake's games when I had to work a late shift. In the clip, Ron's voice was unmistakable. That smug, nasal tone. The kind that makes everything sound like a commercial for himself. "Dude, stop stressing about Justin. He's just an old wallet. He doesn't get it. You don't need his rules. We're the real family now. He's finished." Then laughter. Jake's ashes faint in the background. Like they were in the car. Like he was giving them a ride. The clip ended. The boy who forwarded it, Tommy, added a note. "Mr. J, I don't know what's going on, but this sounded wrong. Figured you should have it." I stared at my screen for a long time. Played the clip again. Then again. I backed it up. 3 times. Saved it to the cloud. External drive. Flash stick. Then I added a new tab to my spreadsheet. Evidence. No confrontation. Not yet. Instead, I watched. I paid attention to every phone call Leslie took outside. Every time Ash giggled while texting. Every time Jake left the house and didn't say where. Every dinner that felt like a boardroom meeting with hostile clients. Every morning when the silence felt less like a break and more like a boycott. I waited, and I built a system. Jake asked again for soccer camp money. This time he was more prepared. Had a flyer, a printed schedule, a list of goals he said he'd work on. It almost felt real. So I gave him a deal. Volunteer 10 hours. Use a respectful tone. Submit a breakdown of your contribution to costs. Then I'll match you. He blinked. "You serious?" "Dead serious." He laughed. "Ron says you'll cave. You always do." I smiled. "Then I guess this is a test." He didn't do the work. He missed the camp. I didn't gloat. I just highlighted the cell in red on my sheet. Ineligible. Non-compliance. A week passed. Then a text from Jake. "Hey, just wanted you to know I got my GPA up. Check the portal if you don't believe me." I checked. He was right. I reinstated his car insurance that night. Quietly. No announcement. Sent him one text. "Proud of you. Keep going." He didn't reply. But the next day he asked if I needed help mowing the lawn. I started seeing changes. Subtle. Calculated, maybe. But changes. Ash stopped using my name like it was a punchline. She even asked if I wanted coffee once while she was making hers. Small things. Leslie. She remained in limbo. Stuck between her loyalty to her blood and the man who'd kept the water hot for 4 years. I didn't press. I just documented. Every act. Every slight. Every flicker of change. I was building a paper trail for a family that only understood receipts. And now I had something better than spreadsheets. I had Ron's voice, saying the truth out loud. That I was nothing more than a card swipe. A human pension fund. A filler until someone more convenient came along. And now that someone was trying to take my place but without the bills. That weekend, Jake handed me a new proposal. He wanted into the next tournament. He'd picked up a part-time job. Said he'd work every afternoon. Had a savings plan. An actual budget. He even asked if I'd review it with him. I didn't say yes right away. I asked him to explain what he would bring to the table. He told me, clear-eyed. No sarcasm. I said yes. That tournament? He earned it. I watched him pack gear bags, set up cones, run drills for the younger kids. I stood at the edge of the field, arms crossed, not cheering, just watching. After the game, the coach called a huddle. There's a kid here who earned every second on that field. Paid his own way. Showed up early. Stayed late. That's what leadership looks like. Ron was there. He clapped slow. Tried to toss a smug look in my direction. Like he wanted credit for something he never touched. Then he spoke up. Well, the money had to come from somewhere. Coach didn't miss a beat. It came from a teenager who made a plan, kept his word, and showed up. We just supported it. Ron shut up. On the drive home, Jake was quiet. Then he spoke. Ron told Mom you'd cave eventually, that you need me to love you. I didn't flinch. I'm not buying love, I said. I'm teaching you how to respect yourself, and not by stepping on others. If you love me one day, great, but that's not the job. The job is to teach you to be a man who honors his word. Jake nodded, didn't speak for a while. Then he reached over, turned up the radio. Something soft, something decent. For once, we didn't need words, just presence, just proof. I didn't slam doors, didn't scream, didn't throw the dishes or play the martyr in the living room. No long speeches, no bleeding heart lectures about how much I gave, how little they gave back. That wasn't my style anymore. I built systems. That was my job outside the house, logistics, infrastructure, frameworks that didn't break under pressure. Now I brought the same to my home. Or rather, to the house I financed so 3 other people could pretend I didn't belong in it. I stopped giving handouts, started issuing offers. Every request, no matter how small, had to be earned. Earned with planning, respect, effort. Jake wanted gas money? Prove it. Show me mileage logs, pick up receipts, a reason that made sense. If it was for soccer practice, great, but he better be early, not just on time. And his cleats better not be covered in mud from 2 weeks ago. Ash needed new clothes for her internship? Fine. Write a breakdown of how she'd manage the wardrobe. Budget. How long the outfits would last. How she'd wash and maintain them. If she rolled her eyes, the answer was no. Leslie didn't like it. First, she said nothing. Then the sighs came. Then the questions. Don't you think this is a bit transactional? Yes, that's the point. Before, everything was emotional. Everything was owed. They guilt, pleaded, manipulated. But they never built anything. They lived off the structure without respecting it. Now it was math. Now it was work. Now it was effort equals access. If you want support, show your work. The first one to try was Jake. He wanted into another tournament. Said it was a regional one, scouts might be there. He used to toss these things out like a given, and I'd foot the bill without asking. A few hundred here. A couple nights in a hotel. Gear. Snacks. Fuel. Not anymore. I sat him down. Told him I'd match what he saved, dollar for dollar. He balked. Ron says you always cave, he said. That name again. Like a stain on a clean shirt. I nodded. Then you have a choice. Believe Ron or prove him wrong. He didn't answer. Just walked off. 2 days later, I saw a new sheet appear on the fridge. Handwritten. Jake's summer savings plan. It had dates, job shifts, dollar amounts, contributions, and a note at the bottom. I'll earn half by the deadline. If I fall short, I don't expect anything. It wasn't perfect, but it was effort. I added my contribution to a private account. Watched him clock in, work double shifts at the burger joint near the high school. He got sunburned. Came home with blisters. Didn't complain. He didn't know I was watching. Didn't know I called his manager just to confirm he was pulling his weight. He was. Ash tried next. She needed help with a summer internship. Unpaid, of course. Said it would help her get into her preferred program next year. I asked for the program outline. She scoffed, rolled her eyes. Seriously? You think I'm making this up? I didn't flinch. I think respect means preparation. You bring the data, I'll bring the support. She went upstairs, slammed the door, didn't talk to me for 2 days. On the third day, a folder appeared on my desk. Printed articles, application forms, a calendar, a page with her goals and how she'd measure them. I reviewed it, highlighted 3 things, left notes. Then I paid for her transit pass, new clothes, and a portable charger. No applause. No thank you. Just silent acknowledgement. I was fine with that. Leslie hovered at the edge of it all. I watched her read emails late at night, glare at her phone like it had betrayed her. Ron's name showed up a lot. I never read her texts, but her face told me enough. She looked torn. Not between 2 men, between 2 realities. The old one, where she could excuse everything as blended family tensions, where I was just expected to endure endlessly. And the new one, where her children were held accountable, where her silence had consequences. She didn't pick a side, but she stopped arguing. That was enough, for now. And then Jake made a move I didn't expect. He came home one afternoon with a cooler full of drinks. Set up a table at the park. Sold water, soda, and sports drinks to the parents of kids playing Little League. Said the concession stand had been closed for repairs. He cleared $142 in 1 day. I didn't say anything, just walked past, patted him on the shoulder, and handed him a cold Gatorade. 2 nights later, he came to me with a question. Do you think I could start investing? Like even just $50? Learn how to grow it? I didn't smile, but inside, something cracked open. I opened a new tab in my sheet. Jake, Financial Education. Started building a list of resources, budgeting apps, intro videos, sites with beginner tools. I set up a private savings account in his name, with interest. He didn't know about that one yet. He would, when he earned it. But not everything was forward momentum. One night I heard Ash on the phone, crying. Said something about how things used to be better. Said she missed when I just give her things. She wasn't sad. She was frustrated, because now she had to earn. And earning felt like losing to someone used to being handed what they wanted. But even that was a step. Anger means the system is working. Means it's real. Means you've built something too solid to ignore. Then it happened. Jake sent a message. Short. Simple. Sorry about that wallet comment. That was messed up. I stared at the screen for a full minute. Then typed back. I forgive you. Let's move forward. That's all. No speeches. No dramatics. Just acknowledgement. Quiet, clean, clear. A bridge doesn't have to be loud. It just has to hold weight. The next Sunday, Jake swung by the house after his shift, opened the fridge, grabbed leftover pizza, kicked off one shoe and collapsed onto the couch. Like he used to, like it was his home. But this time, he said, Mind if I crash here for a bit? My place is noisy. I said, Sure. He didn't call me Dad. He didn't say thank you, but he put his dish in the sink when he left. Texted me later to say the car insurance email came through. Said he appreciated it. Those 2 things? More valuable than any Father's Day card I never got. Meanwhile, I kept building. Ash's budgeting sheet got a second column, expected versus actual. She didn't ask for it, but she filled it in. Leslie started printing receipts for grocery runs, handing them to me without a word. I added a new rule to the system. If you show effort, I'll meet you halfway. If you show respect, I'll go further. They didn't say much about it, but they followed it, most days. And then came the real test. Jake came home one night with an envelope, a physical envelope. Inside was $200. Thought I should pay back what I used for cleats last year, he said. I didn't take it. Put it toward your next goal, I said. He blinked, then nodded. didn't push. Just pocketed the cash and said, "Thanks." That's it. Not because it wasn't a big moment, but because he understood, finally, that respect wasn't a performance. It was a practice. There's a savings account in his name now. He doesn't know it. Not yet. But it's growing. Slowly. Quietly. Just like him. And when he's ready, really ready, I'll show it to him. Not as a gift, but as a mirror. So he can see what happens when you stop taking and start building. It started with a text. Saturday night. I was loading the dishwasher, the hum of the rinse cycle covering the silence where laughter used to be. "Jake, can't make clinic tomorrow. Picked up a double at work. Can we move it to Sunday?" I stared at the screen. No emojis. No excuses. Just effort. Me. "Proud of you for working. Sunday works." That was it. 10 words. But in those 10 words, something shifted. The house, once a battleground of silent stares and ignored authority, had started speaking a new language, one of consistency, not convenience. 2 minutes later, another message. "Jake, sorry about that wallet comment. That was messed up." I sat down. Read it again. Twice. It wasn't a monologue. It wasn't a redemption arc. Just a truth, offered plain. I typed slowly, carefully. "Me. I forgive you. Let's move forward." Not because the wound was gone, but because he'd stopped pretending it wasn't there. Sunday morning came, and Jake showed up like he said he would. No fanfare. No drama. Just him. In a hoodie and grass-stained sneakers, holding a clipboard and helping run drills for the youth clinic. He arrived early. Left late. Took every shift the other kids tried to skip. Didn't even ask for snacks. That evening I made spaghetti. He didn't ask if he could eat. He grabbed a plate, filled it, and sat at the island like he used to, back before his mouth became a weapon. And after dinner, he rinsed his dish and put it in the dishwasher without being asked. I didn't say a word. Didn't need to, because it wasn't about the plate. It was about what it cost him to carry it. He started coming over more. Not every night, but often. Sometimes with laundry. Sometimes just for leftovers. One night he fixed the squeaky cabinet door without being asked. Another, he walked the trash to the curb, earbuds in like it was nothing. And maybe it was nothing. But from a boy who once saw every task as beneath him, it was everything. I kept the system intact. No backsliding. No sudden gifts. No pretending the slate was clean. Jake wanted to go out with friends. Asked if I could spot him $40 for gas and food. I replied, "Show me your weekly budget." 10 minutes later, he sent me a screenshot of his notes app. It wasn't fancy, but it was clear. Spelled out how much he'd earned, how much he'd spent, and how much he still had. I sent him $20. "You're doing the right things. Keep going." That was my note back. He didn't argue. Then came the turning point. He asked if he could borrow my suit. "Just for a day," he said. "Job interview. Retail. Not long-term, just something I can do while I figure stuff out." I looked at him. He was taller now. Same shoulders. Same nose. Same kid I'd driven to practice at 6 a.m. in freezing rain, who once told his friends I was just the guy who lives here. He looked tired, but determined. I handed him the suit. "Ties in the pocket," I said. He didn't say thanks, but he looked me in the eye. That was enough. Leslie noticed the change, too. She didn't say it, but she cooked a little more, lingered longer at the table, started asking me what time I'd be home. Not because she needed something, but because she wanted to match her day to mine. She even printed out the budget I'd made for the household. Put it on the fridge. Didn't say a word about it. Just started writing notes on it like she was learning to live by it too. She wasn't perfect, but she wasn't passive anymore. And after years of silence, that was something. Ash was still distant. Her apology hadn't come. Not even a hint. But her tone had changed. Softer around the edges. Less venom in her corrections. She said Justin like it was a name again, not a slur. She started doing her own laundry, cooking her own lunches. One afternoon, I caught her reading one of the financial books I left on the coffee table. She snapped it shut when she saw me. I didn't say anything. but I left a sticky note on the cover later that night. Chapter 5 has the breakdown on compound interest. Worth a read. She never mentioned it. But the next day I noticed a new notebook in her bag, the kind with budget columns. I didn't ask. Didn't need to. Ron faded. Not all at once, but slowly. Jake stopped mentioning him. Leslie stopped taking calls outside. And one evening, while unloading groceries, I heard Ash mutter under her breath, "He's such a child." I didn't ask who she meant. Didn't need to. Sometimes erosion does the work you're too tired to do. I created a new rule. One I never wrote down. As long as he shows up, I leave the door open. Not because I'm waiting to be loved. Not because I've forgiven everything. But because change doesn't announce itself with confetti. It sneaks in during the rinse cycle. During gas station receipts. During texts that just say, "Home late. Work ran over." He was showing up, so I left the door unlocked. One Friday night he came by after a double shift. Dropped his backpack by the door. Kicked off one shoe, just one. Always just one. Opened the fridge. Grabbed pizza. Flopped onto the couch. No words. No fanfare. Just home. And I let it happen. There's still distance. I won't lie. I don't tuck anyone in. I don't get hugs on my birthday. No one's calling me dad. But I have peace. Quiet kind. The kind that comes from knowing I stopped bleeding for people who couldn't name the wound. And now they know there's a cost. Jake still sends the occasional slip-up. A sarcastic comment. A grunt instead of a thanks. But he checks himself now. Corrects mid-sentence. Starts over. And when he messes up, he owns it. That's more than most grown men. There's a savings account in his name. It grows every month. He doesn't know. Not yet. But I'm waiting for the day he earns the key. Not because he needs it, but because he's ready to carry it without dropping the weight on someone else. Leslie and I still share a bed. Some nights feel like they used to, full of sighs and distant bodies. Others, she turns toward me, asks how my day was, says she saw Jake helping a neighbor move furniture. "Do you think he's really changing?" she asked once. I said nothing, because change isn't about believing. It's about behaving. The other day I found an old family photo, one of those staged fall portraits at the pumpkin patch. Leslie smiling stiffly. Ash mid-eye roll. Jake, arms crossed. Me standing just to the side like an afterthought. I stared at it for a long time. Then I put it back in the drawer. That family doesn't exist anymore. But maybe a new one is forming. Quietly. Message by message. Receipt by receipt. So if you're wondering if I regret freezing the perks, if I question whether I was too harsh or too cold, I don't. Because I didn't slam the door. I just stopped letting people wipe their feet on the welcome mat I paid for. I didn't cut them off. I taught them what a boundary costs. And if they show up, really show up, they'll find the porch light on. They'll find the fridge full. They'll find the door unlocked. Not because I owe them that, but because they finally earned it.